What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to the King of DIY's house. Who's that? Who's that?
Bro, get in the car. Why you got so many bags?
All right, guys, we made it.
That's enough of you. My name is Joey Mullen, if you're not familiar with who I am. Many people on the internet know me as the King of DIY. I'm from Atlantic, Canada, specifically Truro, Nova Scotia. And if I may have your attention for a few minutes, I have some really cool things I want to show you and talk about. Let me explain. Gordon, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take it from here, my friend. Welcome to the Aquarium Gallery. As we walk in, we're confronted with a 700-gallon piranha aquarium. Mind you, it's 8 feet long, it's 5 feet wide, it's about 2.5 feet tall. I want to remind you that this is 7 feet from my house. Furthermore, I am an aquarium hobbyist. None of this was supposed to happen. But I want you to fantasize about the idea of, like, what if you could do truly what you wanted? And in today's video, I'm going to show you what happens when an aquarium hobbyist does what he wants. I invite you, of course, back to the Piranha Aquarium. Everything in here is natural and real. Housing 30 red-bellied piranha. The plants are moss, as well as cryptocorn species. A multitude of species. This tall plant climbing up through is the same plant that's taking over the rest of the aquarium. This is a self-propagating plant. It shoots off runners. Perhaps at one point.
And I love how the piranha are just jumping through the aquarium right now, and you can see the one's head poked out right there.
They're my velociraptors. But at some point, maybe the piranha will breed in here as well. Now, I don't want to get anybody too excited about this tank. It's only been up and running as is. I want to say a year.
Untouched.
Yeah, untouched. But in another year, these piranha will get the size of a shoe. 12 inches long. They're going to be incredibly boisterous. Will this continue to work? I don't know. But is it working now? Phenomenally. In fact, some might say, absolutely phenomenally. Now, I'm going to introduce you to another aquarium. Mm-hmm. It's a glorified quarantine tank. I've been wanting to keep some guppies, and here we have some elephant ears. This used to be Tyrese's tank, which you guys are going to see in a minute. It's my Fahaka puffer. I didn't have an established quarantine system up and running when I knew I can get these guys at my local fish store, but this tank was empty, it was established, it was cycled, I had to grab them. There's about 50 in there. The tank they're going in, I'm going to show you in a second. Let me show you something else I've been working on.
Yeah.
Nobody's seen this yet.
Ooh. See, we're getting it first.
Back in the day, behind the black drapes, used to be adult videos. Now it's fish tanks.
Fish tank. Oh.
Now, if you zoom into this tank,
yeah,
you're going to see one of the most translucent fish ever captured on camera. There's 2 back there, and there's 3 up here. You see them? You fell for it too. There's nothing in there. Although there are translucent species of fish. This is a 12 tank racking system. I built everything for it.
Initially I was thinking we're going to film it later, right? We'll get the fish later.
No, you got get it down.
Yeah, you
we'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
There's nothing in here right now. I'm technically just sinking wood. Because what's one of the things when you set up a new scape? A lot of times you set it up dry, and then you fill the tank up, and then what happens? wood starts floating, etc. I've learned my lesson one too many times. So I'm just sinking some wood in these tanks now. There are 12 of them. They're all run on Hamburg Matten filters. These are 15 gallons, run front to back. A little bit of a gap in between. Originally, I thought what I wanted to do was breed some like high-end plecos and start a collection of fish. But the hardcore hobbyist in me says, do it bare bottom. That's not that interesting. That's not that inspiring. Why can't I do it in skate tanks?
Yep.
So watch me. Recently, I decided I'm tired. I'm not tired. I guess over my YouTube career, the bigger the badder, the bigger tanks I built, the more views and stuff like that. But a part of my hobby earned for smaller, more normal sized tanks. So I built an entire rack of acrylic aquariums, built the aquariums, built the filters, built the lights, well, I didn't build these lights. Built the racking system, lids, etc. And
can I show them?
Yeah. So this one here, we'll go all the way over, and then we'll go all the way over.
Wow.
You've never seen a lot of this stuff, did you?
No.
Well, stop looking at it until I get to
cover it up.
So this moss log thing was never meant to all of it go in here. It's technically 2 logs in here, but they looked identical, and I didn't want all the tanks to look the same. By far, this is my favorite, although I think your viewers are going to see it for the first time. There's not as much moss as there once was, but I pluck it, and then I grow it over here. So all of this, come on in, check this out. This is a lot. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of moss. And then I put some more over here. But that's all taken off of that moss log that's doing absolutely phenomenal. But those tanks, I gotta be honest, they made me giggle the other day. Because as soon as I thought that I am going to scape them and I'm gonna do like some really cool tanks in there, I thought there will no longer ever be a time when I go to the fish store, there will no longer ever be a time when I go and I look at fish lists that are sent to me almost to the point where I feel like I'm being harassed, that I can't get these fish. Watch what happens next. I got 12 empty tanks. I stole some moss from there.
Which it looks good.
Yeah, it's sexy. I'm pretty sure guppies are going to go in here. I feel like I need to fill it with something colorful and fluttery and just something fun to look at. Look how healthy that is. Isn't that gorgeous?
Absolutely incredible.
Now film me. Aren't I gorgeous? Okay. This tank, I've scaped it 5 times, and I've hated it equally all 5 times. What you're seeing now will not exist in a matter of days. The idea behind this was all these other plants that are planted all around it are going to grow big and lush, and the big moss log's going to grow out of it. Kind of feels like that. I need to do better. This one here, I got to clean the front glass. I'm not good at cleaning glass. I just don't care. I love algae. Algae has so many benefits.
100%.
But it's very similar to that over there. Now, I've grown this algae on these logs for months prior to building these tanks. I planned these tanks around these scapes. I've never done that before. And now that I've done it, I hate it. I don't like it. I should have planned the tanks around the fish like I've always done. And then, of course, we have Tyrese, my Fahaka puffer.
My favorite.
Is your favorite?
Favorite. He's actually my favorite fish in the gallery.
Yeah. He's, that's your favorite fish in the gallery?
Favorite fish in the gallery.
And in here is all easy to grow plants. They're all attached to lava rock, we have Anubias, we have Java fern. We actually have some cryptocorin in the back. I'm testing it to see how it does, and see how Tyrese does long term as well. You got to see him; he's a blast.
Yeah.
Now that
I think I'm going to feed him though.
yeah, you're feeding him.
Okay.
Now that we've looked at freshwater fish, I'd love to show you the answer in saltwater. When we think about, this is all saltwater. It's not plants. This is algae. Technically, it's macroalgae. Macroalgae in the saltwater hobby are great at absorbing a lot of things that we technically don't want in our aquariums, meaning nitrates, for example. Similar to planted tanks. Now, Gordon's coming in at a relatively bad time where I do have algae, but so do you. I don't think it's
100%.
I don't think it's relatively important to have my tanks looking pristine all the time. I think it's way more important to show that, yeah, I get some algae too.
Yep.
We scrape it off, we clean it up. But what is the single most common fish in a planted aquarium? Dare I say tetras? Cardinal tetras, neon tetras, any sort of tetra, we toss them in. What's the closest thing to a tetra? Well, we need something that's docile, that swims throughout the tank, that gets along with everything, that doesn't eat the plants, etc., etc., etc. This is the green chromis. It's literally the cheapest and easiest saltwater fish you could potentially or possibly keep. Tell me these fish don't glow. That is a gorgeous aquarium. It's absolutely fascinating to watch, let alone feed. Gordon, you want to feed that one too?
100% I do.
Yeah, when you feed
So-
this, you're going to lose your mind. All of these tanks, all the salt water that I'm about to show you, are easier, technically easier, and the fish are technically easier to keep than absolutely anything else in here.
So the one thing I did notice in there too, you even got some cleaner shrimps in there. So
Yes, just one.
just one. What's his name?
Sebastian.
Love it.
He not only cleans the algae of the unwanted algae, but when he runs out of food on the algae, he'll take the fish, he'll grab them and spin them and just eat anything he can off of them, including like ick or parasites or anything he can get off them. Loves it.
Yeah.
We'll move over. When you think salt water, I know damn well you're thinking clownfish and anemones. Anemones are a live animal as well. The fascinating thing about them is if they don't like where they are,
They'll separate.
you know, they'll get up and they'll move and they'll go across the substrate, maybe they'll go up on the rocks.
They'll split as well.
Yeah, they split right at the mouth. Right in the center of an anemone is their mouth. Their tentacles are sticky. And they sting. These guys don't sting as bad as you think, because these are bubble tip anemones, but they are sticky. So when, Gordon, you're going to feed these guys as well, but they will grip the food and they'll start pushing it towards their mouths. Absolutely amazing to watch. However, the clownfish has a symbiotic relationship with them. The clownfish, if the anemone's not getting enough food, the clownfish will go source the food and spit it into the mouth of the anemone. Because the clownfish can secrete their skin slime that will match that of the anemone, where the anemone doesn't know it's different, so it won't sting the clownfish, but they find refuge in it. Gordon, what is the gender of all clownfish when they're born? Male.
Male. Yeah.
They're
Male.
all born male, and whoever's dominant
It becomes a female.
becomes the female, but there can only be one. So, in time, there will be one dominant female in my harem, and a harem means that female got all those boys.
Lucky female.
Then we're going to move over to something that's a little more looked down on in the saltwater hobby, which is Duncan's and pulsing Xania. The pulsing Xania is arguably a pest in the hobby, and we might be blessed with a coral beauty in a moment. You might notice that we're just using coral, crushed coral. That's Canadian maple leaf rock. That's a freshwater rock. That's a freshwater aqua decor background.
Gorgeous background.
Yeah, I set these up as freshwater to look as freshwater, but with a saltwater twist.
See, I think with a lot of the people in the hobby too, when they see aqua decor, they think only freshwater backgrounds. You've kind of taken that.
You can drive over these things with your car.
Yeah.
They're indestructible. They don't lose color. That background's 6 years old. It was outside for those 6 years. And here is the coral beauty. An absolute stunner of a fish. It's considered a dwarf angelfish. He's about half grown right now. And if I don't move, maybe he'll play with us a little bit. He looks hungry though. The Duncans are also a live coral, and if you look closely, in the center of each Duncan is a mouth. They have that little slit. That's where they eat. Eventually, all the Duncans will cover all of the rocks. Maybe they'll move onto the background. But these guys, the pulsing Xania, grow like Java moss. I'm using... This light here costs $60 off Amazon. I'm using the cheapest salt. I'm using the cheapest rocks, and I'm growing the cheapest coral. We have Lake Tanganyika. It's empty right now. We have 12 frontosa from Lake Tanganyika in Africa. Again, we're going to get Gordon to feed this tank, and they'll all come out. This is one of the most coveted and or probably the poster child for Lake Tanganyika. This is a deep water fish. The reason they're so expensive is because they are taken from incredibly deep waters. Divers go down 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, and then they have to bring the fish up slowly and acclimate them. With such a large, boisterous fish, you couldn't imagine having something tiny in there, could you?
And you even have the shellies in the bottom.
Well, you can have shell blowers.
In a predator tank.
Yeah. This has been something
natural.
That people say that you can't do, don't do this, don't do that. What works for you might not work for me. What works for me might not work for you, etc. But for the most part, I wouldn't put fish at risk on my channel if I didn't know it worked. So all within these shells, and a lot of them are hiding. You might see a few peek out. I see some back here. They'll even go behind the background because they can get behind that background. Here's one right here. But these are African shell dwellers. They spend all of their lives similar to the clownfish with the anemones. They find shelter. The shells are their home. In the wild, these are abandoned and or dead snail shells. When I added these shells, all of these shells were piled here. Notice they're all across the aquarium now. The frontosa don't touch them. The shell dwellers push their homes apart. It's likely due to a dominant male trying to spread out available areas to, well, court his females. It was months ago where this tank was empty. It did have Oscars in it, and it looked really good, but I put the Oscars back in the 2000, which you're going to see in a moment, Gordon. I kind of wanted to keep eels. Some basics, some things I never kept before. I was searching lists. I came across the electric eel. I knew I had to have it. It was expensive, but I had to have it. I wanted to have it for a number of reasons. They put off 600 to 800 volts of electricity, but you gotta touch him. See how close he is? He's looking for food right now.
Don't do it.
I just upset him.
Don't do
Oh
it.
my god! He's not gonna hurt me. You gotta touch them. The electrical eel is one of the most studied and documented fish on the planet, specifically due to their unique ability to produce electricity. They have 3 organs that do it. One is the sax organ. The sax organ is similar to like a whale or a dolphin, or something putting off like fish that put off, like even the elephant fish putting off like a tiny electrical charge, almost like a sonar. That's called the sax organ, S-A-C-H. And then they have 2 organs that work together, called the hunter organ, of course, and then the main organ. That is what will electrocute you. At my age, it could potentially stop my heart.
At my age, could I touch the fish?
I don't know.
34.
I think it would shock you. I will. Well, I'll give you my toxic trait. I want to see what it feels like. Only so I can educate. Only so I know. Only so that I could emphasize. But it's similar to me wanting to be stung by a freshwater stingray. 20 years ago, I went to my local fish store. I saw that they had something called the teacup stingray. Nowadays, I know the teacup stingray is more of a description as opposed to a label for a specific type of stingray. Typically, they're referring to the reticulated stingray. Teacup insinuates that it's going to be small and you can keep it in any size tank. It's a marketing ploy. The teacup, reticulated ray, gets to about 18 inches in diameter, 24 inches long. You'll be proud that I didn't buy it. I went home and I researched for 2 years. I went back, they had the reticulated rays still. They were selling them like hotcakes. I said, listen, I know this fish gets big. Do you have the tanks to house them in the long term? And they're like, no, we only sell tanks up to 130 gallons. Maybe you could order one in. Maybe you could build one. Maybe you could, do something custom, etc. I was like, that world didn't exist. There was no king of DIY at the time. I said, okay, maybe I can get the tank. What about the filter? Do you sell the filter big enough to filter a tank that size? I said, well, no, we don't sell those size filters. I said, okay, maybe I can work with that. Once I have this fish and I'm keeping it, do you have the food that it's going to require to maintain it? They said no. I said, let me get this straight. You don't sell the tank size for them, you don't sell the filters for them, and you don't sell the food for them. But you do sell the fish. I bought one anyway. A lot of the times the industry shuns the king of DIY. A lot of the times a lot of people within the industry hate me, but it was the industry that created me. I was not going to allow anybody to stop me from keeping a fascinating animal, and it is why I created my channel. I thought to myself, I can't be alone. I don't want to be limited by my budget, how much money I have, where I'm located, what's available. I want to keep the fish I want to keep, and I'm going to build everything in order to keep them. Obviously, things have evolved. But now, I have a trio of black diamond stingrays.
As you can see, there's the one male.
Yeah, we have 2 females and a male. My male's a short king. He's not ready to impregnate. I moved him here so I could target feed. They're putting on weight. They're putting on size. But the reason we can tell that they're male or female is the same reason you could tell between any fish within the elasmo branch family, which is rays, skates, and sharks. Elasmo branch meaning that they don't have a single bone in their body. It's just hardened cartilage. The males have 2 claspers right at the base of their tail. when you see sharks at a public aquarium swimming over you, if you see like two little burritos right under their tail, well, that's another reason I keep stingrays, because I kind of want to be a male stingray, because they got two of the things that, gentlemen, we only got one of. The 2,000-gallon aquarium. I built this tank 6 years ago. It wasn't built because I wanted a concrete aquarium. It's because I built acrylic, I built glass, I built plywood, I took tanks apart, I built them into new tanks, I built everything, but I never built the tank out of concrete. And one of the things I always wanted to do, and it's so silly, I always wanted to be able to walk around on my tank and look down on it or get into it. I wanted my fish tank to be bulletproof. Concrete at 5,000 psi, at 6 inches thick, is bulletproof. Acrylic at 1.2 inches thick is bulletproof. I built it 8 inches thick, reinforced with rebar, and the acrylic panels are 1.6 inches thick. This tank has gone through a massive amount of transitions. Currently it houses 5
Incredible, man.
Oscars. We've got some Severums, we've got a Bisher, we've got a red Asian arowana, and when we feed the
Look at the Bisher.
the red-tailed catfish will come out. We also have a sunshine pleco in there. Obviously the stocking in here is not going to stay forever. I've recently added in wood and rocks and whatnot. I don't think that the red-tailed catfish will stay in here forever. I have other ideas. One of the things I kind of want to do is do my ultimate blood red Asian arowana with a tremendous amount of South American cichlids, a bunch of different types. I kind of want to just like go all out in this tank for once.
Yeah.
As opposed to like putting in big fish because it's a big tank. Obviously my Asian arowana is a mainstay. We've had him for 7 years. And he's just absolutely gorgeous.
Incredible. That's an ultimate blood red.
Yeah. Is he perfect? Almost. So the art of Asian arowana is very simple. If you're serious about it, you're looking to create and select the perfect fish. His tail fin's not perfect. A lot of this I can fix. I could net him and medicate him and operate on him and fix it like I've done in past videos, but at this point he's too big, and I kind of like the pectoral fins because they kind of look like fangs. They almost look like claws on a dragon. Because mind you, the Asian arowana is the reincarnation of the dragon. In Asian cultures, they believe that the Asian arowana is the reincarnation of the dragon. They bring nothing but good luck, good fortune, wealth, health.
And that's something that I think in Canada that we're blessed to have is to be able to house Asian arowana.
Well, it's an interpretation of the Endangered Species Act. In Canada, we're allowed to keep them so long as the Asian arowana comes from a city's certified farm. When the Asian arowana dies, it is also believed, and I thoroughly believe in it, that it died for you. To have an Asian arowana of this size, to be fair, is relatively rare, especially to have this body form. You'll see them in public aquariums where they just kind of look fat or...
One or the other, fat or malnourished.
Or like deformed.
Yep.
But when you have a really nice Asian arowana, when it jumps, it jumped for you. It sacrificed itself for you. And while I would love to say that's folklore or I don't believe in it, I have to say, while I watch my Asian arowana swim around and as graceful as it is, I feel like I believe. Gordon, I do what I do for a number of reasons, and I've done it for as long as I've done it for many more. I've been in the hobby for over 20 years, and when I got started, it was in the organized hobby, fish clubs, and I joined my local aquarium club, got on the board of directors, or I became a member, got on the board of directors, became vice president, then became president, then did YouTube. And I often ask myself, who will be the next king of DIY? And I don't wonder who will be the next me, but like who will be the next anything that elevates and promotes and drives himself through with passion. And this is why I'm having people come to my house. This is why I travel, is I think I'll be lucky enough to meet them. I often used to think, like, what can I do? With that said, if you're not a subscriber of Gordon's, perhaps you should consider it, because you don't know what he's going to do with your attention, just like I never knew what I would have done with your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment below, let me know where you're from. Thank you to Joey for allowing me to come to the Aquarium Gallery, and you'll have to just stay tuned for the next one.